Hey y'all, welcome back. I know it's been a while, but I'm going to wrap up the color series. This is our final video for the color series. So I'm just going to jump right into things. So first things first, I am going to make sure that I tell you to always do a patch and a strand test. When you do a patch test, you make sure that you take the color and place it in those sensitive areas. Process it, let it sit, and see if the client reacts to it negatively. If they do, then do not proceed with the color. If they don't, proceed with the color. You also want to make sure that you do a strand test. A strand test is where you take some of the hair, you apply the color, small piece, in a hidden spot, and that's just to make sure that the color takes evenly. That will help you if your client has had previous color, just to get an idea of what you may need to do or what steps you need to take if your client has not had or has had color previously, okay? I'm gonna be moving super fast so we can wrap this up. So when you're applying temporary hair color, you apply it to dry hair, you apply it root to tip. It could be a foam, wax, a spray, different types of things like that. It really just depends, but follow the manufacturer's directions. Remember, temporary always shampoos out. The next is semi, however you want to pronounce it. Some people, depending on what you're doing, most of the time you will apply it to dry hair. I've inserted some pictures on the previous video so you can get an idea of what are some products you may use or consider semi-permanent, but you would apply them to dry hair, process it per the manufacturer's directions, and then rinse it with cold water. That seals the cuticle and keeps it from fading out. Then the next one is demi. Oh, before we jump into that, for all these services, make sure that you're using gloves, but especially when you're using something that uses an oxidative chemical such as peroxide or ammonia, things of that nature. You do not want to get dermatitis, okay? When I do the skin and all of that videos, I'll jump more into that, but basically it's irritant, like your skin is irritated, okay? The next one is demi-permanent. You would apply that to wet or dry hair depending on the manufacturer's directions. Some companies make it where you can do either or. Pravana's Hydro Gloss, they do it on damp hair. I know Wella has some that do it on damp hair, but I also know they have some that do it on dry hair. So it really depends on your manufacturer, but just check into that. Permanent, dry. Dry hair, dry hair. Once again, you're going to process it per the manufacturer's directions, okay? So you have a single process hair color, and then you also have a double process, okay? Single process means you're applying the color, you process it, you shampoo it out, and then you style the hair. Double processing means that you lift the hair, you shampoo that out, and then you go on with your next process, which could be either toning, it could be another color, it could be semi-permanent. It just really depends on what the goal of your client or yourself is, okay? When you're applying lightener, never touch the roots. Really, when you're applying any type of color, just stay away from the roots until the end. When you are applying lightener, make sure that you're paying attention to what type of lightener you're using. Some of them cannot be used on the scalp. So make sure that you're paying attention to those things, okay? You want to make sure that you are going through the proper steps based on the color that your client desires. But we've dug into that more in previous videos. So if there's anything you feel like you're missing, go back and check those old videos, or feel free to comment below and ask me some questions, okay? Whenever you are going to do like something crazy bright, then you would lighten it, like I said, and then you would apply the toner. Make sure that when you're applying those toners that you protect your client's ears, their forehead, the back of their neck, okay? Also, let's talk about heat damage. If your client has heat damage, proceed with caution when you're lightening their hair, because heat damage on top of coloring, you really could have some issues with your client. And that takes us back to the strand test. You always want to make sure that you are seeing how your client's hair processes. Their hair may melt, and if it does in that little strand, then you do not need to proceed, because that means that their hair is already over processed. When you're doing a retouch with lightener, okay, you're going to apply it to the new growth, but you need to make sure you have at least a ½ an inch of new growth. You would not do it on anything less than that, because you run the risk of easily overlapping. You don't want to overlap on hair that's been previously bleached. So once it's bleached, please do not re-bleach it again, because you will have over-processed hair. The next thing is your highlighting techniques. There are different types of techniques. You have highlighting, which means that you're taking dark hair, you're weaving or you're slicing, and you're applying some type of lightener to brighten those pieces of the hair. Then you have low lights, which is pretty much the opposite. You have lighter color hair and you're going in, weaving or slicing, and you're putting dark color into the hair to give it a little bit more dimension, okay? So balayage, there's different types of techniques. Balayage is basically free painting. To me, that's my preferred because it just really looks nice to me. You can use the foil or the freehanding, but it just really looks nice because it looks the most natural. When it grows out, it's not so harsh. I prefer that. Most of the time when you're using lightener, you will use foil to separate the hair. They have different types of foil. As you get into your field and as you get more accustomed to things, you can choose the type that you want. I recommend the ones that have a little clear strip, especially when you're first starting, so that you can see what things are as you go and you're not having to keep opening and closing the foil. Because when you do that, you're cooling it off, which means you're slowing down the processing time, okay? When you're doing slicing, you're going to take about a 1/2 inch hair sections, and then you're going to take that hair and you will slice it through. Literally, you'll slice it through real thin sections. Some people prefer chunky, but it's really desired. But more modern day color, you're going to do a thinner section. You're not going to do something big. I'll make sure that I put some pictures in here so you can see what slicing looks like. And then I will show you what thin, medium, and thick looks like, okay? Then you have subsections. Make sure that you have your hair, you know, the quadrants, the 4. So it's basically behind your ear, straight up, all the way across, and then straight back. And then you'll have your 4 sections. But then you can take those into smaller sections. Those will be your subsections, okay? So subsection, have a little, to me, I recommend, depending on what you're trying to go for, some people do the extra section here. Some people will do 2 in this section. It really depends on the thickness of your client's hair as well as what their desired look is. And also make sure that you always have your client draped in the proper draping, which is towel, cape, towel for chemical services. When you do balayage, I will insert some pictures of that as well, some images of the desired look, but there is a girl on YouTube. I will put her page in the description. She does a phenomenal job of color, like showing you visuals of different types of color, and her main purpose is color correction. So I really will put her, I will put her behind underneath here because I think she would be the perfect person to give you a lot of visuals for some of these things. Then you have foliage, which is basically balayage, but you will put it in foil so you can get the maximum effect. It just heats it up. Then you have color melt. That means that you're taking 2 colors and you're kind of melting that line so that way you don't have that line of demarcation. Most colorists who do a really good job, they do a great job at melting, and it just gives it more of a natural look. It's not very harsh. Oh, you have cap highlighting. I will insert a picture of that. It's not very popular anymore, but people still have it. When it comes to gray hair, me personally, if you go a lighter color or a more softer color, it looks better as it grows out. Some people prefer the black, but just keep in mind, you let your client know gray hair is going to continue growing from the roots. So when you do the black and it starts to grow out, it's a very harsh line of demarcation. Versus if you do a lighter color, it's a little bit softer of a look. So really look at some styles and send your clients some ideas so that way they know what they can do or what's the best option for them when it comes to covering their gray. If they want to cover it or if they just want to enhance it. A pro tip I will say is if you're going super light, it won't cover the gray. It'll just kind of like, I don't want to say enhance, but it'll just kind of tone it a little bit, but it won't actually cover the gray. If you go darker, of course it will cover, but then like I said, you have that root issue. But a pro tip I learned from an old school hairstylist, 10 volume developer, purple shampoo. Shampoo your client's hair regular, gray hair client. Apply that, the mix with the purple shampoo and the 10 volume developer, let it sit for 5 minutes and rinse it out. You'll see. Their gray is gorgeous. It takes all the yellow tones out. Their gray looks beautiful. And yeah, the purple shampoo works on its own, but that just gives it more of a little pop. So if you want to cover your gray, 7 and under would be the best in terms of covering, but 7 and over would be the best in terms of like growing out and just kind of enhancing it or giving it a little oomph, okay? If you are into color and you know your hair is damaged, I would recommend K18, but I still say it's better to be safe than sorry, but I would recommend K18. Let's talk about color and relaxed hair. You relax first, you wait 2 weeks, and then you do color. Never do it the other way around. If you color first, then relax, you will guarantee your client will lose hair. So always do it the other way around, okay? Don't forget, reds fade quick, very quick. So you want to always rinse their hair with cool. Do shampoos that pour into their hair that kind of enhance the red, because red fades super, super fast. Black is not going anywhere. Keep that one in mind. Your blondes, you usually want to use some type of blue or purple shampoo. Your gray, for sure, purple. Your blondes, you want to use a little bit of blue shampoo, usually to get those orange tones out of there. And also remember that if hair is super porous, it will color really quick. It also will look bad very quick. It will fade very quick. So keep that in mind. Always recommend your client a deep conditioner, and I always would give your client a deep conditioner after any service like that. So that is pretty much it, y'all. Thank y'all for staying with me through this long series. Don't forget to thumbs up my video if this helped you in any way. Comment below. Let me know if there's anything you need. And once again, there are free resources in the description box of this video, as well as the link to all the previous videos. And thank y'all for the support. Stay tuned for what's next. Bye.